How's everyone doing? So, check this out. I'm going to read a verse to you. And I'm just reading this verse so we can focus in on this one word. So, here we go. Matthew 24:13. But the one who endures to the end will be saved. Now, I don't want to draw attention to so much what all this passage entails because that's a whole nother subject. But what I'm focusing in on right now is this word saved. Now, the word saved is a word that I've heard a lot. And let me bring a bit of context to it. So, saved is not something as a one-time event. First of all, know this, okay? It's not something that happens one time. It's actually a journey, I believe, that all of us are on from the moment of your conception. Now, let me share with you what saved means. Saved comes from the word sozo, and it means to rescue, deliver out of danger into safety. Okay, is the root of where we get the word salvation from. It means to be rescued from destruction, brought into divine safety. Now, let me just tell you a little story. Years ago, I worked at this steel factory, and I worked with this older guy for a while, and he kind of had a mustache that had kind of like the handlebar mustache, like the West Coast chopper guys. Real good guy, old-fashioned guy. He and his wife had a garden, so he would bring in fruits and vegetables to me. One of those that he would bring in would be a tomato. And one of the things you need to understand, I love me some tomatoes. I mean, fresh picked right out of the garden. And I'm an old-fashioned cat like that. And he'd take these things, he'd bring them in, he'd say, Chris, I got some tomatoes. And he'd slice the things open. He'd have some salt and pepper with it and everything. Oh my gosh, it was just amazing. So one day he brought in a couple of them, and one of them we ate, and the other one he said, well, here, you just take that one home. So I put it in my lunch bag and kept it with me, got home. And man, I tell you what, me and this tomato were getting ready to have a night. And I went and I took me a shower. Well, at the time, a couple of my grandkids were over. And I came out of the shower and I got dressed, and I'm coming out of my room, beelining it toward the kitchen, thinking about that tomato. And my wife stops me about midway and says, I think we have a problem. I said, what do you mean? What do we have a problem with what? And she walked me closer to the kitchen. And it's a common thing that my grandkids, because they get it from my kids, would go through my lunchbox because they would want to see what I'd have in there, what I'd have left over to take. I never had any leftovers to take to bring back to lunch the next day because my kids and my grandkids would do it. My kids started it and then they taught my grandkids. Imagine that. So it was like the illustrious lunchbox. So my granddaughter gets in my lunchbox and she finds this tomato. And I was saving this tomato so I could eat it later. That was its purpose. It was to fulfill its purpose, it was going to be in my belly. Well, later on, when I got there and my wife had told me, we think we have a problem, when I peered around the corner of my kitchen, there my granddaughter was with a big old grin on her face, not paying attention to anybody. And dude, she was eating that tomato like an apple. No salt, no pepper. She was just tearing it up. She loves tomatoes. So I was like, well, at least it was good. I can't really be mad over that. So here's the point. I was not saving my tomato so I could put it on a shelf somewhere and it could not do anything. That right there is the, let me say, I guess the widely quote accepted view of salvation. Let me tell you something. You're not being saved from wrath or saved from something, from a place of a rotisserie to be burned up forever. Okay? And that's a whole nother subject. You're being saved to something. The good news is simply that, good news. You were not rescued. See, salvation is not a one-time event. It is a lifelong process. It is a lifelong journey, okay, that we are all on. But see, I need you to understand this. You are rescued, you are saved to something, not from something. What are you saved to? You are saved for a specific purpose. What is that purpose? That purpose is partnering with the creator of heaven and earth to bring heaven into the earth, that heaven would overlap earth again, that heaven would be in earth again, to bring the ideals of the Creator to fruition in this earth. So you are saved to a purpose, and that purpose is to bring the kingdom of heaven into the earth. And it is the responsibility of every person breathing alive on the planet. Now, some people may not know that. Well, the people that do know that, it is our responsibility to go and wake them up to the truth that has already been true about them. And they're not sure of it yet. They don't know it yet. But what is darkness? Darkness is you living in a place, believing in some way a lie that not only are you separated from God, but God has always desired it that way and desires for you to do some circus tricks so you can get yourself back in. The truth is, Jesus is there, dwelling with you and in you at the bottom of any and every and all of your darkness. And you didn't put him there. So be encouraged today. You're not saved from something, so you can be set in a place like a museum, and people can just come and walk by and look at you and view you and keep on going. But you never do anything. That's what happens in a museum. Museums are things where you go and see artifacts that are old, and that's nice, but that's as far as it goes. You were made and purposed and saved to something, not from something. Listen, have a great day, and remember, you're loved.